So what we meant by a normal distribution. Suppose let x be a continuous random variable with the probability density function given by square root of 2 pi times e to the power minus 1 by 2 x minus mu upon sigma square minus x is less than minus infinity is less than x is less than infinity. So any random variable with this kind of probability density function, we call it as normal random variable. So we call the x as normal random variable with the two parameters mu and sigma. Out of these, with mean, mu will give us the mean, and sigma square will give us the variance. Sigma square. So obviously here mu can be any real number since it is a mean. Sigma square is a variance and hence it has to be a non-negative real number. Okay. And of course, sigma is a strictly positive, strictly bigger than 0. Sigma is strictly positive. Okay. So in this case, in generally what we will say, yeah, the continuous random variable x follows normal distribution with mean mu and the variance sigma square. This is the standard notation for representing. Okay. Now there is this particular case where suppose if mu is 0, mean is 0, and the variance is 1, then we will call x follows the normal distribution with the mean mu and the variance 1. In this case, x is called standard normal random variable. Okay. Generally, the standard normal random variables will represent with z instead of x. Okay. So that is generally what we will write f z of z. What is the probability density function? Just this is the corresponding probability density function for the standard normal random variable. Okay, this one also we have seen. What is the advantage of this one? What is the advantage of this normal random variable actually? With whatever the mean it is and whatever the variance it is, any normal random variable can be transformed to a standard normal variable by means of the transformation using by assuming z as x minus mu upon sigma. By assuming z as x minus mu upon sigma, what will happen? Any random variable which follows the normal distribution with the mean mu and variance sigma square will be transformed to a standard normal random variable. Okay. When it is a standard normal random variable, there is no need to mention what is the mean and what is the variance, because that is fixed, 0 and 1. Okay. And we have already solved some of the problems based on this normal distribution. So right now I'm not getting into this one. You people have already done this one. Okay. Now there is something called the combination of or functions of random variables. Okay. So that is now what you assume, let x1, x2, and so on, xn are independent random variables, n number of independent random variables are there, and all of them are follows the normal distribution. Independent random variables having normal distributions, with normal distribution means we can have the mean and variance also. With means correspondingly mu1, mu2, and so on mun, and variances sigma 1 square, sigma 2 square, and so on sigma n square. So basically, in one line, each xi follows normal distribution with the mean mu I and the variance sigma I square. Okay, I is equal to 1, 2, and so on. Then we have, and all of them are independent randoms. Now, what you take, defining a linear combination of these random variables. I'm representing them with A. So that is what I'm calling A1 times x1 plus A2 times x2 plus and so on plus AN times x, where A1, A2, and so on AN are scalars. Okay. So it is a linear combination of random variables. Okay. Now it is true that the expected value of y, that is, now y is also a random variable. Now for this y, what is the mean and what is the variance? The very first thing is the linear combination of random variables. Then what we have? Then the new random variable y also follows normal distribution with the mean mu and variance sigma square. Now, what is the mean mu here for the new random variable y? That is expected value of y is equal to mu is equal to a1 times mu1 plus a2 times mu2 plus and so on plus an times mu. And what about the variance of the random variable y, that is sigma square, is equal to a1 square times sigma 1 square plus a2 square times sigma 2 square plus and so on an square times sigma n square. Okay. So basically, this is the linear combination of linearly independent random variables having normal distribution is also a normal random variable with the corresponding with the mean and the variance are given as here. Okay. I think now we can get into some notions which are very important. See, for understanding the statistical part, you should understand the basic definitions and what is the meaning of them, in what situations we call them, in what situations we can have them. Okay, so that is all very important. If you do not understand the basic definitions in the statistical part, it will be very difficult task you to follow the lectures. So today mostly we will be focusing only on the very basic definitions. Okay. Now, what actually this unit actually gives us? What is the benefit of this unit? First, I will explain that one, and then we will go to the definitions. For example, it is a matter of it is so for example, we are having a large group of people. We are having a large group of people. We are having a large group of people. Okay. Okay, large in the sense it is not necessarily infinite. It is not necessarily infinite. Okay, it can be finite also, but as a number wise, it is considered it as a large group of people. Okay. Now, I would like to see what are the average number of peoples with. I would like to segregate all of them using their blood group. Using their blood group. Okay. Now, generally, what is the suppose if we want the exact number and exact numbers, then what we will do? Suppose if we want the exact number of people with the blood group A positive, then what we have to do? There is no other option. We need to call all the people, and for each individual, we need to test what is the blood group, and we have to note it, right? So the test is compulsory when we are expecting the exact number. Okay. But we might be having in practical situations in the day-to-day life, we might have some restrictions. We might have some restrictions. For example, let me tell you one restriction. Okay. First thing, we may not have that much amount for each blood group. To make each blood group test, certainly certain amount is required, right? We may not be having that much of amount. So there is a restriction. That is one, means money. Another restriction, I need the data within 2 days. Is it possible to complete the blood test for all the people in 2 days and give me the exact value? That is also difficult. Okay. So we do have some, in the practical situations, we might be having some limitations. In that case, then what we do? In that case, then what we do? Any idea from the class? Any idea from the class? Can someone explain me what can be done now in this situation? Can someone explain me now what is the possible solution for this problem? So no response.
Sir?
Yeah, Sharon, please go ahead.
Sir, we can randomly select, say, 10 or 20 people, and then say if I get two A positives, so I can say that for 100 people, I may get 20 A positives. So like that, I can extend
Exactly.
it.
The same technique we have to use. As simple as that. So basically what Sharon is suggesting us to do, he is asking us to, sir, we might be having restrictions, maybe that maybe time restriction or money restrictions might be there, whatever the restriction it is. We take some arbitrary less number of people depending on our limitations. Depending on our limitations, like money or time or maybe some other, etc., etc., etc. Okay. So what we will do, we will test and we will find out what is the blood for this small group of people. This is what? This is a small group of people. Now, what is the best? Now, since it is a small group of people, we can, within the time and within our budget, we can do the things like we can test their blood, what is their blood group, we can note it down. And with that data, what we can do, we can give the data for the larger group. So based on the whatever the statistics required for the large group of people, we are not working on the entire large group of people, whereas we are going to work only on some small subset. And in this small subset, we will find out the statistics, and whatever the values we will get, we will say that the approximate values for the larger group is also have the same statistics. Now, Sharon, now I have it down. Suppose generally now it is a matter of choosing some number, right? It is a matter of choosing some certain group of people, some small set of people. Now, of course, you have used the correct word. You have used the correct word. That is fine. Now, what are the advantages, disadvantages of advantages? Are we obviously okay by working on the small group? We can give the statistics for the large group. But what are the disadvantages for this technique So the very first thing is it a biased set? Means is it a biased group of people? Or whether it is not biased group of people, whether this group of people may give us overestimate or may give us completely underestimate, which means the statistics will become maybe biased. Statistics may be biased, right? Why? Generally, when it comes to the choosing a certain group of people, what we will choose? We will choose the near and dear, and we will test them, and we will finish the job. What will happen if unfortunately, if whatever the small set of people you have selected, if all of them are having the A positive, does it mean the large group of people also will have all of the people will be having the A positive only? Or in the small group of people, suppose if you are able to identify only two different blood groups, is it true that the large group of people also will be having the same only two different blood groups? No, right? Practically, that is not the correct way. Practically, that is not going to be correct. So, what we must choose, these set of people should be very random. That is what the Sharon has already used. So, the group of people, the selection of the group, selection of the small group should be random. Should be very random. Okay, that is one thing. Okay. Now, can you tell me what are the suppose whatever we are finding out the statistics, that statistics are only for the small group of people. For the small group of people, that is actually the exact statistic. The exact statistics of the small group or small subset, we are making it as an approximate statistics for the larger group of people, larger set, right? Suppose for this one also, suppose if you want using the same technique, suppose if you want to have the better approximations, better statistics, then what is the idea in our hand? What we can do? What we can do? We are going to use the same technique. We are going to use the same technique. Can anyone say? Okay. Increase size. Increase size in the sense, increase the subset. The number of people you consider more. Okay. Instead of considering this group, and of course, that is also depends on what? Depends on our limitations. Okay. Consider a big small group. Okay. So that is increase the size of the small group. By increasing what we will get better statistics. Better statistics we will get. Okay. So this is the basic idea. So now let me summarize it. When we have a large group of people, in the practical, it is not always all the problems not necessarily to employ the people. Okay. So we have something called a larger set. That is what we are calling it as population. That is what we are calling it as population. Okay. It can be the number of number of products. Okay. It can be the number of data. Number of data is where we have very huge data. For example, when it is a problem of discussing about the frequency of rains. Okay. Suppose if we have the data from the last 20 years, then we can call it as a large data. Okay. And this one, there we have used because of some limitations, we have considered something called the small group of people. So that is what we call it as. Sample. That is a sample. What kind of sample it is? It is a random sample. Remember that. That word is very much important. If you do not consider the random sample, then whatever the statistics you obtain, that may be a biased statistics for the larger group of people. Okay. So that is the way. The sample should be chosen very randomly. Okay. It should not be a biased sample. It should be a random sample. Okay. Now, and whatever increase the size means the increase the sample size. Increase the sample size. Instead of considering only 10 number of data, you consider 20. That will give you the better result, better approximates, better statistics for the larger group. Okay. So that is the complete idea of this unit. Okay. Now let me explain. Okay, I think at this point that is fine. Now let us go further proceed this one. Okay, I hope so far everything is clear. Now, based on the whatever the explanation it is given, let us see some few definitions and what is the what actually they mean. So the totality of observations with which we are concerned, whether the number be whether that is an infinite number, whether that is a finite number, that is what we call it as a population. That is what we call it as a population. So population does not mean always in larger group, does not mean always infinite data. Okay, it may be finite data also, but we call it as large. Sometimes we will see some examples. Okay, but here what you should understand, the totality of observations. Suppose when it is a problem of discussing about the range from the, and if we have the data of last 10 years, so whatever the data we have from the last 10 years, from the 2011 onwards, that is what we call it as a population. Population is not always meant for the number of people. Okay, here it is the amount of data we are having in the statistics. Remember that. Okay. Now, if there are 600, suppose if you look at this one, if there are 600 students in a school, whom we classified according to the blood type, blood group, we say that we have the population of size 600. It can up to certain point, you may think that it is actually you will consider it as a small group of people. But let me tell you, in the statistics perspective, in the statistics point of view, any data with more than 30 in the sense, more than 30 number of data will be considered as a large. 30. Okay. Now you look at this one, the numbers on the cards in a deck. The numbers on the cards in a deck. The heights of residents in a certain city. The lengths of fish in a particular lake are examples of population with finite size. With finite size. Okay. Practically, we are not going to come. Practically, we are not going to consider they are actually the finite population. Sorry. I was wrong. That is what we call the sample size. Small size and for large sample and the small sample. Yeah, that is about the population. Yeah, this population, they are 600. It is finite. Number of cars on the deck, that is also finite. The heights of residents in a certain city, that is also finite. So the lengths of a fish in a particular lake are examples of population with finite size. Okay, that is whatever. So whatever I said, the number 30, the bound 30, that is for the sample, large sample and the small sample. Okay, anyway. Okay, so this is what we can say it as a finite population. Examples of the finite population: 1, 2, 3, 4. In all the above cases, the total number of observations is a finite number. The total number of observations is a finite number. Okay. Now look at the second, another two examples. The observations obtained by measuring the atmospheric pressure every day from the past on into the future. Okay. For example, every day we are measuring the atmospheric pressure at some so on so place or at so on so region. Okay. Assume that we are having from data from last some 30-40 years. Okay. In that sense, for those scenarios, in those situations, we can consider the population is large, very large. I mean, in the sense. Okay. All measurements of the depth of a lake from any conceivable position. For example, it is not necessary that the depth of a lake is uniform, so it will have some ups and downs. Okay, depth will increase sometimes, that may be less sometimes. Okay. Suppose if you are measuring, suppose if you have the data for every square foot on the top of the lake. Suppose if you are having what is the depth of the lake, then obviously we'll be having some infinite number of data. So these are the examples for the populations with infinite size. Okay. Whether we have it or not, that is another thing. This is an example. Okay. Now, sometimes some finite populations are also considered as large. In the theory, we assume them to be infinite. Okay. That is, the population may be finite only. For example, students, 600. As per the theory, we will say that it is a finite population only. Okay. But for a practical purpose, we may assume them to be infinite data. Okay. It does not mean that we must have the data with uncountable number. Okay. Okay. So for this also there is some example it is given. Suppose if we have suppose a company is manufacturing certain storage batteries. Okay. Now, what is the lifetime of each battery? What is the lifetime of each battery? Okay. So that can also be considered as an infinite data, but practically, finite population only. But practically, we will consider it as an infinite for problem point of view. Okay. Now that is about the population. Now the next thing is about the sample. Sample is as important as population. In fact, in my view, sample is more important than a population. Okay, random sample, remember that. Okay. Generally, a sample is a subset of a population. Subset in the sense, now what kind of subset it is, whether it is a very small subset or whether it is a very large subset. Means whether it is a small sample or whether it is a large sample. This is what I was telling. For the statisticians, a sample of size less than or equal to 30 is considered as small sample. Less than 30, we call it as small sample. And large sample means obviously greater than 30. Okay. Now in statistical inference means what? The conclusions, the statistical conclusions, okay, are the informations. What basically we are basically interested on the statistics of the large sample. Statistics of the large sample based on the statistics of the sample. That is, conclusions concerning a population when it is impossible or impractical. Impossible, that is also a limitation, or impractical. Okay. So that means there are some limitations out there to observe the entire set of observations that make up the population. So that is the major difficulty for the statisticians. Okay. So for example, also it is given attempting to determine the average length of life of a certain brand of light bulb. A company is manufacturing light bulbs, maybe tube lights, you can consider it as, or LED lights, whatever it is. Now, what the question is about, what is the average lifetime for a tube light, for a LED light? How can you say? Tell me. How can you say? Tell me. What is the average lifetime? So what you should know, you should list out all, you should give the serial numbers to all the tube lights, all the LED lights, whatever it is. And you should start using them
we do not know who will use. So we need to go each and every customer who have purchased this tube light, and they have to initiate. They have to use the tube light, and then we need to measure the how much hours it has been used in a day, and then finally till we should wait till the tube light is not in a position to work. Okay, we do not know how many days it will take, and in a day how many times you will use, and in each time how much duration you will use. We need to make it each and every data, count the number of times. So for each tube light, we have to give the yes. For this tube light, this is the length, lifetime, length of the lifetime for this tube light. Generally, how many tube lights whether the manufacturing company produces in a day, or in a month, or in a week. Then it is completely impractical, right? That you can see understand the word impractical here, or impossible also we can say it. Okay, for example, okay, in whatever with a lot of efforts, you have used the previous technique, and you have the data, and after all, so suppose assume that you have a list of 1,000 tube lights, and with so much of effort you have all the data, and then finally you average it, and then you will say that the average length of lifetime of a tube light when after tube light is not working. How it will be helpful to the customer or to the manufacturer? In what sense? When the tube light is already stopped working, and if that time if you are giving the data, this is the average length of a lifetime of a tube light. Okay, but remember, this data may helpful to the manufacturer or to the customer for the next purchase, for the next selling of the product. Okay, remember that. So practically speaking, that whatever the technique I have explained now, that is going to be, that is generally it is impractical and impossible. Okay, now, so that is a large population of tube lights. A company may produce thousands of tube lights in a day. Okay, so that is not that technique is not going to work practically. Okay, so then what should be the technique? What should we follow? We must depend on a subset of observations from the population to help us make conclusions, inferences means statistical conclusions concerning that same population. For example, in a week, some 10,000 tube lights have been produced, manufactured. Out of 10,000, it will be, yes, many of you know that actually it produces, they will give you the batch number. Maybe today morning one batch one. Today we will produce 10 batches. Today, whatever the tube lights produced, we will make it as 11 to 20 batches. Okay, so this kind of batch number will be there, right? Even if you see some product, there is something called batch number, serial number, everything will be there. Okay. Now, in a week, suppose assume that there are some 100 batches are there. What I will do, I will take one tube light from each batch, and I will fix it in the company itself, and I will figure it out. I no need to go to all the customers home, those who have purchased. Okay. And it is not that the manufacturer has to keep all the 10,000 bulbs and check whether they are working or not. If that is the situation, then manufacturer why he should produce, why the company should manufacture the tube lights only for some purpose of data. That's not going to be that is not a logical thing, right? So what the company can do, company can take a very small sample, maybe some from each batch, one tube, right? And fix it there itself. Fix there itself. Okay. By fixing there, they will get to know the data, and they will their work will be also done. Okay, that is another point. And collect the data, and based on that small sample, the company will say that the lifetime, the average lifetime of a bulb in this, the whatever the tubulars purchased in that week is so and so. Okay. So that helps the manufacturer to promote, to attract the people, to attract the customers, and for the customers also, there will be some belief that okay, so the average lifetime is little high, so we can go for this one. This is what happening actually outside. Okay. So that is the advantage of this statistical inference. That is what we are going to do in this complete project. And the next one. So now it is difficulty. It is about the inferences from the sample to the sample conclusions from the sample to the population. Okay. To be valid, we must obtain samples that are representative of the population. All too often, we are tempted to choose a sample by selecting most convenient members of the population. Suppose if I ask one person, one employee, okay, so whatever the tubulars we have manufactured in this week, you get the sample of size 100. What employee may do, sometimes he might be lazy. What he will do, he will pick two batches. He will pick two batches. So assume that consider 100 batches we said, right? So assume that each batch consists of 100 tubulars. Okay. He might be lazy. Instead of collecting one tubular from each batch, what he will do, he will pick one complete batch and he will give it to the person who is concerned about this one. And he will go with this data and with check verification for this sample only, for this 100 tubulars, 100 tubulars, and whatever the statistics we will get, that is not going, that sometimes, that is very rarely that may gives the exact data or approximate data, but mostly it is a biased data it will give. Either it will give the overestimate or it will give the underestimate. In fact, whatever the sample that employee had got, that is not the representative of the entire population. Why? Because it is not the random one. It is representative of the very one batch. In fact, a complete batch has been taken. It is not the representative of the entire population. Okay. For example, in the example that whatever you have considered, large group of people data. Okay. Suppose if you consist of one particular what is called set of people from one particular area, that is not the representative of the entire population, entire large group of people. So we should take the sample in such a way that yes, some parts are men's, some women's, girls, some okay. So age, maybe in the age wise also we can characterize from 0 to 10 years. We should have this many number, and from 10 to 20 years. So in that way, we should collect the sample. Okay. So that it will not give us the biased statistics. Okay. Next one. Okay. If you don't choose, such a procedure may lead to erroneous inferences, conclusions concerning the population. That means either overestimate or underestimate the statistics. Okay. So that's all for today. I will close the section now. Now I have an exam to conduct for first year repeated. So if you have any doubts, I hope you understood each and everything. If you have any doubts, you are most welcome. Thank you all.